Welcome back to the Patient Magnet Podcast. My name is Jared Rohr. I'm the CEO and founder of Aesthetic Conversion, a web agency, and I am joined today by my longtime good friend and my angel in this business. Tiffany is responsible for 90% of the success that you see of Jared Rohr today. I'll take 10% credit that I worked really hard, but Tiffany has laid me up more than anybody that I know in this business, and she's been a champion of me and what we do since day one. So I'm so honored to introduce Tiffany Hall Dr. Tiffany Hall on the Patient Magnet Podcast. Tiffany, if you wanted to let the audience know a little bit about yourself, and then I'll keep gushing over you, obviously, the whole entire time.
Well, first of all, you are 100% responsible for your success. You're an easy person to promote, but I am the Chief Growth Officer at Aesthetic Record and also at Lead AR and Aesthetic Next. And so I have my hands in med spas from the point of a patient deciding to come in to booking to being treated all the way through checkout, charting, all the marketing parts of it, also educating providers across the country and practice owners through Aesthetic Next. So I live, eat, sleep, and breathe this business and have for the last decade. So I am thrilled to be here, Jared. Thanks for having me.
And she gets incredible opportunities too. She's being humble too. She gets incredible other opportunities. Like she's speaking on a national stage for Twilio in a couple of weeks, and she's working directly with like corporate at Stripe. Like she gets invited out to San Francisco and Silicon Valley all the time. Tiffany is the jam, and we knew each other back when Tiffany was at Galderma and I was working with Shino Bay, and we were just pen pals and we would talk all the time. And then one day we ran into each other at a conference and became best friends, and it was wonderful.
The rest is history.
And the rest is history. That's right. So, guys, we've been talking a lot about your sales funnel, and we talked about how do we flow people through that. We talked about fascination, which is getting eyeballs on your business. We talked about acquisition, which is turning those eyeballs into leads. We talked about conversion, which is taking those leads and selling them appropriately. And then we've talked, and what we will be talking about now is engagement. How do we then take those people that have done business with us and recycle them back to the top of the list? And I couldn't think of anybody better than Tiffany and Aesthetic Record and Lead AR, because they have really kind of clinched that entire sector of re-engaging your list, whether it's through helping you with memberships, whether it's through helping you with through even event planning while using the Lead AR system. It's a full system that will allow you to re-engage your patients. So what I'd love to kind of just lightly touch on in general, Tiffany, is when I bring up patient re-engagement, what are some areas within Lead AR, within Aesthetic Record that you're seeing people take great advantage of and getting killer results out of in regards to re-engaging their existing list of patients?
Well, I think on the onset, just thinking about this concept, the magic is made between appointments, right? Like they come in and they're already booked and they're getting something done. They're already here. So really the in-between time is what we care about. And so how do you engage in the in-between time, I think, is what's really challenging, because no one really knows the answer. It's not like a great formula that we've all, kind of prescribed to. So I think the big key is, when did they get treated with what thing? And then what is the comeback time? Is it 3 months? Is it 1 month? Is it 6 months? And making sure that you know that, and that there's an automation in place to get them back in the door, back in the chair for that visit, to inquire why they're not here yet. Is it something with price? Is it a promotion? Are we conditioning them to look for the discount? Why are they not coming back in? I think is number one. But then how do we get them back in the chair? And I feel like, Jared, you have to have things that are sticky. And I think for us looking at Lead AR, if you have a thing that you can offer that's new, that's interesting, that's different, even repackaging a thing that's been on the shelf for a while to make it sound different. If you have a reason to talk to a client, any reason at all, to send them an email or a text to say, this cool thing is waiting for you, you're a VIP, you're important to us, come back in, you will re-engage them for something. It may not be what you intended to get them in the door for, but something will pique their interest or spark, their curiosity to come back into the practice, or at least make the phone call or go to the site and visit something, go to your funnel page. You've got to find a way to keep them sticky. And I think it has to be a constant reinvention of your brand in the in-between time, which, by the way, could all be automated. It can all be done without you touching any of it. You kind of set it and forget it. But for Lead AR particularly, that's what we live and die by, is automation. So whatever's in the invoice when they check out, that's what kicks off a whole series of things. In many cases, these are like 30 to 40 step automations. If you think about weight loss, like the weeks and weeks and weeks of weight loss.
Of course.
If it's an email campaign, it's like, what is cool and new that's happening that we can find the right segment, the person who would be interested in that thing or that should trade up to that thing, and being like really intentional about who's on your email list and what they want, what they've addressed, and in their consultation that they're interested in doing next time. You've got to be so I don't know if it's laser focused or just really hone in on what they want. And I think give them the content that they're actually craving and that they want from you, and they're more likely to re-engage. If you just kind of shotgun approaches, everything, like, if you're looking for cool sculpting, I don't maybe want to hear about like your skincare regimen. Right. I want to know about cool sculpting. I've already told you that. You know that. I know that. We all are aligned here. So many things about body contouring. So I think it's really being intentional as well with your email list, so that those in between times are things that really feed them, that feed their soul, feed their curiosity, feed their healthcare concerns. That it's content that's relevant for them.
Yeah, I always encourage people to have some sort of an upsell pipeline or a cross-sell pipeline, but that's such a great thing to keep in mind too, is like, what did they ask for in the first place? Because if they're just interested in filler or just interested in talks or just interested in body contouring, constantly cross-selling them to all these other things that they've never expressed interest in is just a waste of your time and money ultimately. Now, when it comes to the pitfalls that you are currently seeing with those, you touched on something very interesting that I'd love to hear a little bit more about if you know with your clients, is what are the most common reasons you're seeing that people aren't coming back in? Like, what are the most common reasons? Is it just them being a boring brand, kind of like what you're saying? They're just white noise in the background, or what are some reasons that you're seeing them not come back?
Well, I think, first of all, back to what you just said, I want to address that. I think you definitely want to talk about all the cross-selling, but it's like with anything in your life. If something is bugging you and they never address it, you ignore them. You want to know that whatever that thing is that you came in with, that like the billboard on top of your head saying, I've got a wrinkle, or I've got fat to dissolve. If you never tell me about that thing, I ignore you for the next thing. So you got to at least, I think, address that part to get on to the next part. But I do think, to your question about what makes them, sort of fall out. Right now we're in a place in aesthetics where we've had to not really try so hard. We've kind of had patients coming in and just like a constant stream since COVID. We had crazy books full of people because of the whole backlog for that year. And we just sort of were able to exist and have great schedules that were booked and make lots of money. Now it's challenging. Now we are seeing with weight loss coming in, peptides, all these regenerative things, like the pickings they're getting a little bit more slim, if you want to say that. So you've got to be more targeted. And I think people love new and fresh and different. Even if it's not better, even if it's not even close to being better, the fact that it looks different, it sounds different, it feels different is compelling for at least your curiosity. So if someone comes into your market, across the street or 2 doors down, and they're new and different, they're going to get eyeballs. So you have to, as I mentioned before, kind of constantly reinvent. It's like reshuffling the clothing if you're in a clothing store. It's the same shirt you've had on the rack for 3 months, but it's in a different place now. It has a different scarf around it now, so it feels different. I think part of it is just we get bored as a consumer of like, that brand again. You've got to make me know that you're constantly investing in you, you're innovating, that you're different, that you're fun. And that could be simply changing the colors on an email template, or new verbiage, or a new headline, or new call to action, finding a new way to say the same thing over and over again. I think there's just a part of it where we just like fresh content. So I think for a person getting an email every day from all the people in all the places, I need to see that thing and think, I'm going to click on that and read more. You've got to, again, kind of feed me and give me things that I want to read about, or I'm not going to be engaged.
Yeah. So it could be as simple as, it's the same offer over and over. However, it's themed per season, or it's themed per whatever, where it's like, oh my gosh, we'll get that beautiful beach body, shed the winter fat. Like, all of a sudden we have different campaigns where ultimately we're offering buy 3 cool sculpting, get 1 free or something like that. But it's the same offer every time, but just make it refreshing for the user or the individual, so that like, oh, actually, yes, that does, because if we're using the same exact verbiage over and over, we're just going to get unsubscribed. People aren't going to pay attention. They're going to leave us entirely. But taking that same offer and refreshing it, because that's one thing, at least one thing I encourage our clinics that we work with. If the offer is working, keep using whatever that offer is. We don't have to shake up the system. We have clients who they'll use like a new patient offer on their website as the pop-up. Let's call it $50 off. And then they'll come back and they'll say, well, I just bought a new Hollywood Spectra laser and I want all of my patients to use it. So let's change the pop-up to say, buy 3 Hollywood Spectra laser, get 1 facial and 1 Alastin skincare product 50% off. And we'll come back and be like, no. Or we'll say like, hey, look, like, let's not break what isn't, but let's not fix what isn't broken here.
But I think what you just said is so important, though. It's confusing. Like, if the offer is like, you got to do 6 steps and then a backflip and a cartwheel, and then, it's just too much for the patient. If it's like, I've got to buy these 3 things and to get this thing and to get that thing, make it simple. Like, do I get just a straight discount? Do I get, a value add, like a gift with purchase? what is a simple thing that will get me in the door versus overwhelm me with things like membership programs. They get really complex and they're really convoluted. It's like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like I need to go to ChatGPT and say, can you read this and tell me what I'm actually going to get? If it's that complex, it may work for you as a practice, but your patient needs simple. It's like when you look at software, I need a simple interface. I want a simple offer that I can understand. I think the other part of that too, with what you said about changing the verbiage, is give me a different angle. Is it now a testimonial? Is it now a cool reel? Is it now a checklist for me to get ready for summer? Here's your workout regimen. Here's a great, meal plan. Is it taking the same offer and baking the surrounding content to be much more targeted to my emotional needs, there's a whole like neuro-emotional questioning that we do, multi-level probing questions. Like, what is it that's going to get me to think about it and really get turned on by it? Maybe it's a testimonial, someone who's just like me, a working mom who had a great success story. I look at her and I see myself. Now I want to buy it. Versus last week, it was like some 25-year-old girl fresh out of college, with her little tight body looking great and her, her summer vacation. That's not me. I don't connect with that. So I think it's even just changing images, changing some of the tone. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, huge difference. Yeah, and not tweaking the formula too much. We're tweaking it so it's like it stays fresh because we know that offer converts, but tweaking it so that the people actually see and get the offer. I'm also noticing, this is a little bit off topic, I'm also noticing right now cash has the highest conversion rate for us. Cash discounts for clients that we're working with, because a lot of them will say, oh, I have a percentage off and of the 20% off, blah, 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 blah. But the lack of context for brand new patients usually results in a lower conversion rate. I'm just noticing right now across the board, cash off, where if it's a lower amount than what your percentage off is people, when they see $50 off my first appointment, for some reason for us, we've seen it just works better. We're getting some people converting at like 25% on their site right now from $50 off their first appointment. Then we have like minimum thresholds where it's like, oh, you must, it's got to be an appointment worth 250 or more, or 300 or more, or something like that, so that they're not giving away the farm. But we're seeing massive opt-in rates right now for cash. I don't know if you're seeing something similar with the way that people build their offers in Lead AR or even Aesthetic Record.
It's the devil that you know. I think people, they know what $50 means. They don't know what 20% off means. I think even for us as a business, and we say you get half off of your setup fee, no one knows what that means. If we say, you get $199 off, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm saving $200. Like, let's do this. It's, we count our lives in pennies and dollars. We don't count our lives in percentages. So again, there's like an emotional tie to the fact that it's cash. I know what that will buy in my life. I know that that's a tank of gas, or that's, my gas bill, whatever that is for me. Then I can quantify where that fits in sort of my value, my value system. So I agree with you. I think cash is huge. And again, people know that if they come in, they get it. Like it's, I think percentages also seem kind of abstract or oblique. It's like off of what and for what thing. It doesn't make sense to me. So yes, I think cash is great.
So now let's go a little more granular. So we talked about how, so the initial offer, or at least repackaging and refreshing our offer is how we can get that list activated. But let's go granular into the actual channels that we can do that through. I know that through Lead AR and through Aesthetic Record, because Aesthetic Record can't text blast, but Lead AR can. But text, email, maybe events within clinic. What are ways specifically that you're seeing people take those rebranded offers or refreshed offers, and how are they winning in some of those categories?
Well, I think there's a couple different options, and I'll try to be brief with each one. But I think events are huge. They're back. People want to do things.
Agreed.
And you have to be strategic in how you plan that, from the sort of event magnet to get them in, to the automations to get all the information out to them when they come in and actually sign up for something, or they fill out a form. What happens next? Like, there's a whole part of planning that you've got to do, and inviting them early, like very early, putting it on the calendar as early as you can, getting the invites out. For one thing, just to get it out. I think that's a big part of it for us, is looking at who comes to events, who's in your local market, who is a person that would fit this procedure if we're doing like a VIP night for a certain, procedure, or who has a paired thing that says, I'll have Sculptra. This is about elastin. They're both Galderma. Maybe it's a fit. So looking at, again, using like tags and things to find out what has the client bought in the last 90 days or even the last year, and what does it partner with? We love a good patients had X not Y report. They've had Dysport but not Restylane, back to the Galderma
cool.
example. If I'm having a Restylane promotion and they are a big Dysport user, they have Aspire points, I know that they probably could use those also for Restylane. So I think part of it is like looking for events, like who's a good pair, and not doing shotgun for everyone. Because if you've ever done an event, they're freaking expensive, and all the food, people come to just drink and kick the tires. If you're going to do an event, I would rather go small and strategic than go like large scale and spend a fortune. So that's my one thing on events. But I think the other part, if you look at aesthetic record, for instance, reporting wise, we'd love to see like client behavioral like heuristics. If they're coming in every month, what does their typical invoice look like? Again, is it like an X, has had X and not Y, or they've had X in the last 30 days? What have they not had in the last 30 days? And being really targeted about the things that you ask them to come back for. If they're coming back pretty frequently for toxin, don't waste the email. If they come back every 3 months like clockwork, that's not an email you got to send. You want them to come in for other things. Like when you're here for your toxin next time, let's also do this thing. Use that anchor visit that is going to happen like clockwork every single quarter to get them back in. We see that very, very often for us. It's like if patients are very compliant with, let's say, weight loss, they come in every single week, they will tag on to that compliant visit something else to add or something else to advertise or to knowledge share about. So it's like finding out what are your patients doing as their typical sort of routine behavior, and then I think really building from there. I think the other part of Lead AR is just the speed to lead, because even if they're already a client, Jared, they're still a lead. Unless they're spending money with you in that moment, they're always a lead. Like it's like you got to date forever. You're never married to a patient because they are not obligated to you, nor really you to them. So you got to be hustling for that business all the time. And I think we forget that. We think, oh, they've come in, they love us, we're good, no problem. They're going to retain, they're on a membership, and we kind of just let sleeping dogs lie. That's a devastating place to be, because if you look up and you've had a lot of churn for memberships or they're just leaving your practice, you got to be working for those people. And that might be an educational component, which we love to do in Lead AR. We love to say they've had this treatment now 2 or 3 times. Let's educate about what could be next. Let's say it's even a facelift if you're, a surgery connection there. You've done Sculptra or you've done, Radiesse over and over again. Maybe the next step for you is a facelift. We're going to have our surgeon come in and do free consults here. Whatever the value add may be for the practice, just to get them back in the door. Because if they're there, you can upsell them for something. If they never come back in, you have no opportunity for that. So I think really looking at, if you have people who have not been touched, they've not been called, texted, touched, emailed, DM'd, anything in the last 90 days, you better find a reason ASAP, or you're going to lose them to someone who will treat them like a lead and will court them and love on them and give them lots of recognition, and they'll be leaving your practice and going to theirs. So I think the big part of it is just looking at activity as well. Lead AR is great with that. I know that you use systems much like ours. We can see what they've been doing. Have they had a call, a text, an email, like in one conversation feed? I know who's not had any interaction. I know who's been forgotten about. So looking at those lists to say who has not had anything at all from us in any of our channels in the past 30 days, let's get something out to them like, we miss you, or we hope you're doing well, or Happy Mother's Day, that's coming up soon. I think those are things that we just kind of forget to do because it doesn't seem important.
Yeah. And then we lose them because we're not nurturing that relationship ongoing, or we're just constantly asking for more, and where it's just like, oh, please buy my thing, please buy my thing, please buy my thing. And they're like, well, why is it important to me? And I think going back to that education point, or even to eBlasts, I think having education built into your eBlasts is giant. Having like ongoing value built into your eBlast is enormous. I was talking with you earlier, right before we got on, and I was telling you that the common trope that I hear from 20 somethings right now is email's dead. And I personally believe it's the way that they're using it that's dead. I think they're just like, they're tired of the JCPenney's big, buy now ads, which sure. I would say those probably have a way lower conversion rate than now. But value add, I mean, I sent an email yesterday. I'm going to Core Mastery this weekend, and I sent an email yesterday, a follow up to our list that was just rich text that said, hey, by the way, I'm going to be there in Scottsdale this weekend. It's super cheap. I'd love for you to come. And we had like a 60% open rate, and I think we had like a 5% click-through rate for people to buy the tickets in the list. And it was just a simple, hey, just so you know, I'm going to be there and I'd love to give this to you. It was nothing about our services, but just how can I add value to our list?
I love what you just said, though. I will tell you the rich text part of it. People get really caught up in making these beautiful, gorgeous emails. And we are guilty here because we have a great graphic designer. I love, as you know, beautiful content. And those take a lot of effort, and they're not easy to do, right? It takes you a week to plan it, to build it, to do all the QC on it. It's a headache. It's a lift. And a client who gets that beautiful email every week ignores you because it's very marketing. You send just a text email, or a regular looking email. It could be from your CRM, but it looks like a regular email that you sent, that Jared sent to me. I will open that and I will read it because it feels very personal. Even though it may be from a CRM, they don't know that. They don't know that's coming from like a campaign. It feels like it's connected, to me. It has a personal nature to it. I think we get very confused about the fact that email should be this big, fancy newsletter style thing every time we send it. That's not real. We get much better open rates here when we send things like from a personal email, like to our leads for trials or conversions for AR, for lead AR. We see better rates for that. And I'm sure the clients would agree that when it feels personal, people will open it. But I think we over index as an industry on making things really pretty and really fancy and really beautiful. And at the end of the day, the client wants you to add value. And I always say, if it doesn't pass a girlfriend test, don't send it. Like if it's not a thing you tell your girlfriend over and over again, it isn't right. I would not call you and sell to you every day. I wouldn't be like, Jared, buy this. Jared, buy this. I'd be like, hey, how you doing? Like, I heard this thing that you got to hear about. I would find a way to make it relevant for you or connect it to you. I wouldn't call you every single day and say, give me.
Yeah.
And if you do that with your email, it's not going to work. I mean, these are your girlfriends, right? I mean, they're paying to be your girlfriend, but they're your girlfriends. If it's not good for your sister, your mother, your brother, things you would not share with them, then perhaps it's not the right thing to send every single week. It needs to be a little less salesy, a little more educational.
Yeah, I get an email every Monday morning, like clockwork at 9 a.m. from this financial management firm. I have no idea how I got on this list, but I'm fired up that I'm on it. I've been on it for like a year. And this guy sends me a rich text email, just like that. Rich text, for anybody listening, it's just straight up how you would normally send an email. No frills. He sends me a rich text email that says, here's how every single market across the entire globe performed this last week. And here's the new innovations that you should look out for. I get it every single week. I'm not a major investor or anything like that, but I love staying apprised to what's happening. And I open that email every single week, and I take it, I copy it, I put it into ChatGPT, and I say, give me some talking points if there's any in here. And it'll say, oh wow, Japan had a really big struggle with exporting paper this last year, or whatever it is, and it gives me all those updates, and I'm like fired up to get it every single week. Or we talked about our mutual friend Mary. Social Practice has this monthly e-blast that they put out called the Social Pulse, where it tells you everything you need to know about what happened this last month in social media within the field of aesthetics. Here's all the trends. Here's all the updates to Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Here's all the audios that are working and how to do them. And anytime I tell a 20-something about that, they're like, where do I sign up for this right now? And that's usually my proof in the pudding of like value works. It's not the channel. It's the value that you're delivering. And most people have just overdrawn the value out of email. I'm sure they're going to do it out of text at some point. But one thing I wanted to, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you and I have a disadvantage. We have a global, or at least a U.S. based network, right? Our customers are from coast to coast. If you're in a practice and you're in a local market, what a great way to take what Mary's doing and adopt that. What is happening in your local town? Is there a movie theater that's being built? Is there a Broadway show coming to town? Is there a thing with Little League happening? Like to be able to be sort of your town crier for like the old days, like to have things that matter to your audience. Like if it's all soccer moms, great. We have, a big fundraiser coming up for soccer goals, whatever the thing is for you. If you can find ways to work in things that are relevant for your city or things that you're passionate about, adopt a pet, whatever you can do at your practice, people will look at that as sort of like a town beacon of like what's going on in your market. I think there's ways to take that exact same concept Mary is doing and to make that very like geo-targeted, very local, because your audience lives there too, right? They live and they eat and sleep and breathe in the same town that you're in. They want to hear what's going on. They want to hear your perspective on things. So I think there's ways to look at what's happening in your geography. I mean, T-Mobile did this. I don't know if you know about the T-Mobile text back in the day when they started saying we're going to have one group focus on Denver, one group focus on California. Wildfire breaks out, they know what's happening because they're all focused on only this one area. So they could talk to their customers as if they were a part of that community. And it grew the T-Mobile customer support to be just like a legendary thing, as I'm sure everyone's heard about. They did the same thing. They took Mary's concept and said, in our market, we're going to be the expert in our town and our metroplex. We're going to offer value that way. And so I think there's ways to do it. If you're a practice, you've got a great advantage that you and I just don't have.
Yeah. And it lets them live out their values. Like where oftentimes these clinic owners are like, oh, we care about our community. We just want to serve the community. We just want this and we just want that. And it's like, all right, like let's put some shoes on that phrase. Let's put some shoes on that phrase and have you actually walk it out with your community. And it lets them say, oh my gosh, not only do they, that's like one of the greatest value adds for our company is I'm super passionate about education. And I say all the time, I'm passionate about making smarter business owners. So when I'm on stage, I give away the farm. Here's exactly how we do everything that I do because I want smarter clients and I want a smarter industry. And then when I do a hour-long consult with somebody that doesn't lead with me working with them, but just leads with me sending them off with their own marketing plan, I'm fired up and they're like, wow, that guy, he lives out his values, you know?
And if that was
it
free,
allows
how
them to
good
do
would
that.
it be if they paid for it? Like if
I
you
know.
gave that away for free, then if I actually paid you, how much more awesome could you be? Because
better.
I mean, your free is awesome. You know, how much better could your paid be? I think that they will come back to you. People who are at a trade show. I was at one of your talks at the aesthetic show, I don't know, June of last year. You gave away this awesome lead magnet. You were like, hey, everyone, see how this thing actually works. You're part of my lead magnet now. You know, you're in my funnel.
Oh yeah. That was awesome. I called out what I was doing
And they still did it.
Yeah,
but they're looking at that saying, if somebody can give me this kind of value at no cost as a value add, then working with them is going to give me even more, you know, leverage, intelligence, business acumen, whatever it is that you want to offer. In your practice, the same thing. If you give like a Vizia away, hey, this lead magnet gets you a free Vizia scan for, you know, our acne boot camp. Well, if that's free, what could you do if I actually paid you to look at my skin and to actually give me recommendations and to help me, you know, fix my rosacea, my melasma, whatever the things are that I have? That's where you create value. It's like showing them what the path looks like from today free or today my discount, my cash discount, to full price, full service in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. It doesn't have to be today. I may not convert today, but I may convert in 6 months, and you may become a long-term customer forever. It just took longer. You know, I think we get really caught up in the fact that they didn't convert today, they're dead. No, maybe they're just like a slow learner. You know, they're a slow
smokes.
adopter.
I can't tell you how many clients this year have approached me at conferences. And this is another tribute to Tiffany Hall and her constant championing of everybody around her. But people that come up to me, oh my gosh, I've seen you speak at every Aesthetic Next for the last couple of years. Oh, I saw you speak at this show and this show and this show. And now I'm finally ready to start working with you. And I had never even met them, but they would come to shows knowing that I was speaking and never actually talk to me. And then all of a sudden they're a client. So I completely agree with that. You never know when that relationship is going to see fruition. But really, if we keep living out our values, and business owners that are listening, if you keep living out your values, the business is going to come, you know, because you're being a whole person while you're doing it. Now, we talked a little bit about being strategic with your e-blasts and how to actually make that work. Are there any best practices you can give the audience on text blasts when they're sending out text blasts? What's some quick and easy tips that they can use for killing a text?
I love text, first of all, but they are expensive. Segments count. So don't make them forever long. There's no need for that. It's quick and to the point. Link something in. We are big believers here that if you've got a lot of things to say, link it in with the funnel so that they can go to a site and see something. They can engage with something on their phone. It doesn't need to be a 9-page, text message. I think people love images. I like to get an image in my text. I think there are some ways to use images really strategically. So that's like a fun little thing that you see. I know it's branded for you. But the biggest thing for me with text messages is there needs to be a purpose behind it. It may not be to buy something, but there's a reason I'm reaching out to you. It isn't just like, hey girl, hey, what's up? It's like, I've got a thing I want you to know about. There's a thing happening in our practice. There's a cool thing, that's on promotion now. We just got a new service, whatever it is. Like, I want to have a reason, because if there's no purpose in me reading your text, I'll quit reading your text. And I think because text is so in the moment, it's so instant, I've got to feel an instant gratification from it. Unlike email, I'm going to read an email and sort of, ponder over it and read through it, percolate a bit, maybe save it for later. A text, I'm going to read it right now, and it better be darn good or I'm out of here, because I'm going through them so quickly, as we all are with Slack, with text, with all the things that we're doing, Google, GChat. It has to be valuable to me. And so I think for us with the text message, I want purposeful communication, because also I don't want to get texts from you that are just BS. I'll just, unsubscribe, get it off my phone. So I think with the text message, be purposeful, number one. Have whatever your message is actually resonate, that it's actually relevant or that it's valuable to the client, and not just like a bunch of nonsense. It's really long. Get to the point, and then link them to a funnel. We also, I would tell you, I can't stress this enough, you've got to take the replies and build an automation around it. If someone gets a text and they reply and you don't do anything, what was the point of all of it? If they, even for email, same thing. If I send out a note saying, hey, Jared, I've got this awesome thing happening in practice. I'd love for you to come, let me know if you can make it. And he says, yes, I'll make it. And I don't send back immediately a calendar invite or, hey, make sure you bring this when you come, or can't wait to see you. If I don't have a response, what was the point of any of it? It was just like a frou-frou for nothing. So you've got to think about a text message as the first step in a long communication. And you've got to build in the automation and the replies and the things that you want to create the next behavior, which might be the calendar invite, the booking link, whatever it is. So to me, texts are just like the top of the conversation food chain. Make them great and punchy, but make them have a purpose that you can then kind of build on over time.
And once it works copy paste. Copy paste the same funnel where it's like, great, this is the type of campaign that I'm running. The campaign is I send a text, it's got an opt-in phrase, it's got a funnel link on it, and then here's all the cues and the automations that I've built in for this type of funnel. Copy paste and just change it up, whatever the actual content is in it. You only have to do it, if you're doing it really well, once. If you do it really, really well once, you're good for forever. I think a lot of people might hear this and say, oh, but I don't know how to automate, or, oh, I don't know how to this and that. Like, first of all, if you're working with Lead AR, they've got amazing people on staff and they have whole entire consultative packages, right? You guys do, where people can help you build out your entire account and all that stuff. So they make it so easy to use. And the simple fact that like historical patient data can actually be sent into your CRM is dynamite, because all these other CRMs that are just solo CRMs, that's the problem, is you're not importing true historical patient data. And then all the other EMRs that have like slight CRM functionalities, but not true, at least to the caliber that Lead AR is, they're struggling because people are frustrated with those CRM softwares. So, I think we're seeing a nice push in the industry towards EMRs having stronger follow-up processes, but you guys are definitely leading the charge there, which is really, really cool.
You got to have invoice level data. You got to know what they're buying on the invoice, because that's where all the tags get created. And to your point, I mean, we're automating everything for them. So think about weight loss, for instance. That's a great one. I don't need you to come in every week, right? You're at home doing your own shots, but I want you to check in with me. So I'm going to automate a message every Wednesday at 8 a.m. saying, hey, Jared, it's your weekly check-in for your semaglutide. How's it going? Answer these questions for me. You're going to answer them. I'm going to get that back in Lead AR and execute the next thing that happens. Yes. I can put that chart in AR. It's like on my vitals chart. You're good to go. You've kind of cleared the hurdle for the week. I think there's ways, if you look at weight loss as like let's say an 8-month program for you, that's a lot of weeks. That's a lot of things. If I have to remember every single week to send you a note and like take all your stuff in and put it in the right chart, that's a lot to do. So I think there's part of it where it's just a matter of, we don't have enough manpower. Like none of us do. We don't have enough manpower to do speed to lead or even speed to response. But the other part about that is thinking about the entire channel as being automated, or at least being all non-human touch. So you gave me this idea, I don't know, 2 years ago about saying, I'm going to sell 3 packages. Like, hey, we've got this great promo coming on. Text me back 1, 2, or 3, whatever the promo is that you pick, 1, 2, or 3. Let's say I pick 3. I'm going to pick 3. In AR, we can immediately make a text to pay invoice for you. We can check out. You get the text to pay invoice that comes to your phone directly, like within a few minutes. You pay for it. You get the service. It's in your wallet. You get the text saying, I'm so glad that that you have this new thing. I can't wait to get you in. Here's a booking link. Go ahead and get your service booked for next time. All that can be done with very little human involvement at all, except to just check out the invoice. Yeah. But now I have a phone payment option. I've got the 3, the 2, the 1, whatever the number is that you've used for me. I've got the reach back out saying, thank you for purchasing it. Here's your next step to make sure you actually come in. And then when you actually do come in, I can book you for the next one, or set myself a reminder via automation to reach out and say, hey, you're due for your laser again. You're due for your microneedling treatment again. Don't forget to, you bought this package. Don't forget to come in and get your treatments done, because the biggest issue for a practice is that they don't come back for the next series of things. That's a common known thing for all of us. They don't come back for number 2 or number 3. They want their money back. They want to do a dispute. You want them to see value in the first visit, but also want to come back for the second, and third, and fourth. And that's oftentimes just reminding them to come back, because again, they come back into practice. They're going to buy skincare. They're going to maybe do more lips. They're going to get some more toxin. Whatever they're going to do in the practice during that day is just a pure upsell, because they were already coming back in for a service that they paid for during the promotion. So I think looking at it as this is your chance to engage them and to do it without having to have a front desk person, because you're only as good as your front desk person if they have the burden of all of this. And they're busy too. So I think taking it off their plate and making it really automated, and it also feels very buttoned up and very professional. And patients appreciate the fact you thought about all the parts of their puzzle and that you've made it very frictionless. So I think it's a win-win for everybody.
And you don't have to lift a finger. Like once it's prepped and done and it's working, like you lift a finger to prep it, but then there's infinite scalability. You can throw as many people into that funnel as you want, and you're not going to have to touch it for the most part once it's built properly. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing I'm seeing clinics struggle with as well is they are overwhelmed with the amount of things that they think they need to do in their business, and they're not busy about doing the right things, which are relational usually. The relational things are the things that are helping move them forward, and the little nitty-gritty administrative automations that they could be building are the things that are overwhelming their heads, They're doing those things manually, and they're like, oh well, case in point, I had a client a couple days ago that I was talking to them about their leads, where they said, "Oh, we're trying to reevaluate our marketing spend." And I was like, "Well, you're getting tons of leads. I think 4 or 5 full-time, maybe it was like 4 full-time schedules, and they were getting somewhere around 300-ish leads a month." For that business. And I was like, you guys should be drowning in money. They're like, oh, well, we don't really have a good system for following up with patients. And I was like, well, there it is. Like, I mean, you can cut back marketing spend, but I'm going to tell you it's a downward slope from there. Like, I think let's tighten up our follow-up and our relational aspect here. And so I see clinics maybe getting overwhelmed with certain numbers, but just not having automations. And then, so what we're doing with those people specifically is building automations for them so that it just quickly, they get a good follow-up process. They are tracking performance for their staff members. Like, okay, great. Are we getting a 50% conversion rate on these leads to getting appointments? Yes or no? So, clinics overwhelming themselves with the nitty gritty instead of automating the nitty gritty and overwhelming themselves with relationships, I think is killing most practices. So I think you're bang on with that.
Well, and I can tell you the most valuable thing that we've done, the most valuable by far for our practices with text messaging that I think speaks to what you just mentioned perfectly. First of all, we all have leads. Everyone has leads. If you're in business, if you have an Instagram, you have leads. You don't own them because you didn't get their email address, which is a different soapbox, but they're there, right? Someone is there that you could be reaching out to and getting into your world. And chances are they're reaching out to you, but you don't know it because you don't have things set up correctly. So we did this thing with AR, where if you start booking and you fall off, like you don't finish, you don't do your credit card, you don't pay your deposit, whatever it is, you fall off, we capture that information and it goes into a leads tab inside of our AR system. It's like an abandoned lead.
So cool.
What we've done is in Lead AR, we drive that abandoned lead into an automation to say, hey, did you forget something? What can we help you with? We know where they are in the process when they abandon. And so we look at this whole abandoned lead process to say, Jared stopped booking. We know where he was kind of going with that. Let's get him back in on a call, whatever it is, text. We could do some automated calls, which will happen in the future. But at least for now, we send a text saying, hey, we'd love to get you in. Do you have any questions for us? What can we help you with to go ahead and get booked for the schedule? Here's the link again in case you got distracted, whatever it is. Maybe their kids are running around, like, who knows what's going on. Right. But the whole abandoned lead thing, we had one practice who within a given month had like 65 more toxin conversions because they were abandoned leads that came in. I think it was like toxin, and she had them all booked, and they initially, they bought at least something with toxin. Now they may try to do more services later on, but they were a nobody with nothing at that point, right? They were just on a leads table. We would have never even seen them before if we hadn't had this leads thing going on. They were abandoned lead. We have one automation that just says, hey, we see you. We want to help you. What can we do? And they book, they come in, they get treated. She already has leads. She doesn't need to pay for Google ads. It's not looking on Instagram. It's not doing more reels. They're already there booking. They're already warm, but they just didn't make the cut, right? So let's get them in. So I feel like we spend so much money and time on leads, Jared, and then we don't do anything with them. Right. Or we bring the horse to water, and when it's not thirsty, we're like, well, sorry, it'll be thirsty in a little bit. Like, give it a second. Give it a minute to work up the thirst. But we've got to find a way to say, if they're coming to your site and doing something, whether it's a lead magnet, you get them in that way. I don't care how you get them to you, but you got to get a phone number, an email, or a text message, something to get a hold of them, because if they're coming to you, you've already probably paid for that to get there. Don't pay for it again. Mm-hmm. Let them come to you, and then automate the follow-up so that you have a speed to lead, that you're doing it quickly, that you're, on message. But otherwise, to your point, the psychosis of like, I've got to spend more, do more lead generation. No, just manage what you have, push what you have through the pipeline, get them from the top of the funnel to actually buying it. And then at that point, re-engage. Like it's a formula we have to, kind of all do, but we get really caught up at the top of it.
I think that's really encouraging too for practice owners that you guys are doing that, because as a marketer, my frustration, this is years ago, I don't really have this as much anymore because we front load so many opportunities for patients to get into the funnel for our clients. But historically, a lot of our clients would say, oh, just throw them onto our online booking link. They would just want them to go to online booking link. And there's some of these EMRs and just online schedulers that, man, it's a 40-page process to get through. And then they're like, oh, we're not getting leads. I'm like, well, yeah, it's a 40-page process. And when I would reach out to those companies to be like, oh, can we get tracking on here? Can we see what the conversion rate per click is or whatever? They were all clueless. The cool thing about what you guys are doing is you are very clearly tracking progress of somebody filling out that online booking situation. And wherever that stop goes, yes, we're going back to it and saying, hey, it looks like you stopped, whatever. But Aesthetic Record, guys, is tracking that. So over time, if they're like, man, everyone always stops on that third click for some reason, how do we get rid of it so that we can make sure that our clinics can book more? So it's just really encouraging to know that an EMR is taking that kind of intentionality as well around, okay, how do we optimize conversion rate from our side to our clinics as well? And then how do we, if that conversion is not happening, how do we pick up the pieces for our clinic and do an abandoned cart automation? That is huge, Tiffany. I think people should take a lot of courage knowing that you guys are thinking for them and looking out for them in that manner. Then they probably didn't even know that it was something they needed. So that's enormous. I think that's very honorable.
Well, thank you. They complain about the fact that to do all the things in the first page, like patients are mad about putting in their phone number and email. I'm like, yeah, but if they don't finish, you have something. If we don't ask them for their contact information and they don't finish, you have nothing. Wouldn't you rather them take another 10 seconds to put their phone number on there? And then at least if they fall off the wagon, you can reach back out to them. So there are reasons why, in many cases, even for us, we front load a lot of the data on the booking in the beginning because we want to capture that for the practice to say, if they book or don't book, I still have what I need to call them or to email or text them. Like that's what you care about is getting their contact, their contact information to say, Jared fell off, but he was interested. Let me get him back on the books. If we don't do that, wait to the very, very end of the process and they fall off, we have literally no place to go with that. It's just clicks. And so we want you to have the data that you need to make an actionable strategic decision afterwards to say, let's get them back in the door, get them on the books. And literally, I think for me, the funnel is more of an hourglass, right? The top of it, we're bringing them in. The middle of it's when they actually convert and they buy, and then it starts over again as they stay in. Right. The funnel goes downward to say we've got to keep them interested and keep them in our world. And even with online booking, they will start as a patient who's retained and they will drop off because they start thinking about maybe I should look at somebody else's practice, see if it's cheaper or if it's better. So it's the same idea for the lead abandonment if they're already in your practice to also reach back out and say, hey, Jared, you come here all the time. You didn't book. What can I help you with? Do you have a question? I think it's just great to know what people are doing on your site so you can take a good, solid action next and hopefully get them back in.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, this has been super informative, Tiffany. I always just love geeking out with you and getting to just chit chat and talk about marketing. I know I'm going to see you this weekend as well. But for everybody who's listening, kind of what we covered today was we covered that engagement side of your funnel. We covered how once you've already done business with somebody, or maybe if it's the very first time you're doing business with somebody, how do we re-engage them to the top, whether through emails, through text messages, or through events. And we learned a handful of different strategies for each of those. Tiffany, if somebody wants to do business with you guys, whether it's through Aesthetic Record, Lead AR, or come to Aesthetic Next, what's the best way for them to say, oh my gosh, I have to have this woman's influence in my life?
Well, probably the best place to get all of it is on our Instagram, which is terrible to say, I know. It's Aesthetic Record. But the reason why is because our Linktree has everything on Linktree, all nice and lined out. But what I will tell you, Jared, is if you are interested in Lead AR, to your point, we have everything already dumped into it. Automation's already there. We'll train you, get you ready. If you will use the code Jared150, we'll take $150 off of your setup fee to get you what you need from day one. So that is myleadar.com. We will get you rock and rolling with your CRM and getting all the things that you need for abandoned booking, emails, text, chat, everything. And then on the AR side, it's just our name, aestheticrecord.com. Email us, text us anytime you want. Certainly go to our site. It's all live chat, so you can talk to us about anything you want to talk to us about. But on the AR side, book a demo for sure. You want to see it. I really want to see both of them. I think anyone who's looking at software, period, book the demo. You want to see what you're up against as you start to onboard because it's a lot of things. I mean, just today we talked about just texting and emailing. It's a lot of stuff. So we want to make that process really simple for you. So definitely book a demo with us. But if you're looking at a CRM, I would encourage you to look at ours and use Jared's code, Jared150, and you can save some money on the setup fee.
And come to Aesthetic Next this year, everybody.
Yes.
September. If you want to hear more nuggets from both me and Tiffany, Aesthetic Next is going to be off the chain. I cannot wait.
It's so good this year. Yeah, it's going to be
I can't wait. It's always so good. You always make it better and better and better. It's going to be great. First weekend of September, right?
It is the weekend after Labor Day every year. So the 4th to the 7th. And if you've not thought about going, I encourage you to go to aestheticnext.com and check it out. We've got lots of faculty, lots of sessions, lots of workshops. I mean, literally whatever your practice position is, front desk, office manager, provider, owner, we've got things for you. And it's such a holistic education. I'm very proud of that point that we've really focused on whoever you are in aesthetics, whatever your job is here, things, they're built just for you. There's a place to find, your people, your tribe somewhere, one of the tracks. So definitely check it out. We'd love to see you at Aesthetic Next.
And your constant innovation at Aesthetic Next is stellar too. Because I go to all the big shows, and the Aesthetic Next's ability to take input from its students and then reshape it the following year so that it gives them the best output possible is stellar. I don't see that as mirrored across the industry. I'm always so impressed with the constant innovation that Aesthetic Next puts into place. So yes, everybody that's watching, you should absolutely come to Aesthetic Next. So
well, let's do the same thing, Jared. If they want to use the code JaredAN, we'll take 150 off their AN tickets.
Yes.
So
okay.
as long as they know your name, they're good. So Jared 150 or Jared AN.
And you know what? You try that across the internet, everybody. You just do Jared 150 anywhere across the internet, and you just see what kind of discount codes you can get.
Racking it up. But yes,
Yeah, exactly.
we'll put those hopefully in the show notes as well. But I can also have those on our Instagram when this launches. So if you guys forget, you can go look at our Instagram. We'll have those listed out. But we'd love to have you at Aesthetic Next. And whatever Jared does is always great. So if he's part of it, it's going to be an awesome show. I think the next season again this year might be playing on stage. Who knows what's going to happen? It's always a mystery, but a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Well, thank you everybody for watching The Patient Magnet. If you like this episode, please share it. Please subscribe. Please comment. I know people say it all the time, but it really helps us with our stats to know what we should do next and what is impactful for you. So drop a comment in Spotify, share this and make sure that you're following so that I know what kind of content I should be putting out next for you guys. So again, this has been The Patient Magnet with Jared Rohr and my special guest, Dr. Tiffany Hall. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Bye guys. Thank you.